Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican, has placed a hold on Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti's nomination to become US ambassador to India. Now, Grassley has cited allegations that Garcetti knew about the sexual misconduct that was allegedly taking place within his administration under the top advisor, who is no longer his top advisor, Rick Jacobs. He allegedly failed to take proper action for it, and Grassley wants to make sure that they can look into this prior to holding the confirmation hearings. Now, there is a woman who is blowing the whistle on Garcetti, and she happens to be his former communications director. Her name is Naomi Seligman. Now, she says, no, Garcetti definitely knew what was going on. Seligman contends that Garcetti lied in a deposition that was brought by Los Angeles police officer Matthew Garza, a member of Garcetti's security detail. Garza claims that Garcetti witnessed some of Jacobs's behavior but did not take steps to stop it. Jacobs called Garza's lawsuit pure fiction. Now, her complaint further alleges that Garcetti lied under oath during his confirmation hearing in December. Asking about the allegations by Senator Jeanne Shaheen, Garcetti said that he, quote, never witnessed nor was it brought to my attention the behavior that's been alleged. And I want to assure you, if it had been, I would have immediately taken action to stop it, or stop that, end quote. Now, Garcetti's office denies all of this. In fact, they tell Deadline, quote, there's nothing new here, and these false claims about the mayor are just as ridiculous now as they were when they were first made. The mayor stands by his testimony unequivocally, and more than a dozen witnesses have testified under oath that he was never made aware of any improper behavior. Now, let's have a conversation about this because I want to learn more details. I think everyone should learn more details. And here to join us to do just that is the woman who has blown the whistle, Eric Garcetti's former communications director, Naomi Seligman. Naomi, thank you so much for joining us. So let's start at the very beginning because I think it's really important for the audience to understand the accusations that have been made against Rick Jacobs, and then we'll move on to what Garcetti may have known or may have not known. So what did you experience with Jacobs? You had some allegations against him of your own.
Sure, I was a victim. Rick Jacobs kissed me on the lips in front of my staff, pinned my arms down, held me, and then just kind of dropped me and walked out. I then reported that I reported Rick Jacobs to the chief of staff at the time, Ana Guerrero, who said, there's nothing we can do about it. I then called a close friend and a commissioner who works on gender equity to recount contemporaneously what had happened to me. We were deposed, both me and my friend, and both testified under oath to what happened to me.
And based on reports of all of these allegations, he did this to women who worked under him, men who worked under him. Can you detail some of the other allegations against him?
Sure. I mean, we have Matthew Garza, who was a former protective detail, who for years was sexually harassed and abused by Rick Jacobs, inappropriate touching, inappropriate comments. But he's just one of really so many. He was just very brave to come out and tell his story. But we have scores of victims here. We have women like me, like my former staff member, Anna Barr, who was in the LA Times this weekend, where her texts were reported on about being abused and harassed by Rick Jacobs. We have Jeremy Bernard, who is the former social secretary for the Obama White House. He heard the mayor several times say to him, wow, I can't believe we made it through Rick Jacobs being at City Hall and we didn't get sued. Mm-hmm. He said that several times to Jeremy. We have men going back, years, decades, that have been talking to reporters that I have personally spoken with who have been victimized by Rick Jacobs. And we're talking about pretty serious offenses here. This is grabbing and hugging, but even worse than that in some cases. And as I said, so much of this was done in front of many people, but including in front of Mayor Garcetti.
So when this type of behavior was taking place in front of Garcetti, what was his reaction to it? Was there ever a moment where he pulled him aside and said, hey, this is inappropriate? Some of the accusations really seem like a form of an intimidation. Was there any moment where Garcetti thought to reprimand him?
Just to be clear, these are all power maneuvers, right? We know that Rick Jacobs went after people that he wanted to dominate. And he did that again and again. And he absolutely did it in front of the mayor. I think it was a sense of prowess that he was expressing during that time. The mayor, when I saw him witness it, he just watched or laughed, as Matthew Garza has testified to. He did nothing. It was if you were watching him tell a joke or you're watching him have a conversation. He would come to protective detail, grab them, Rick would, lift them off the floor and shake them and say, oh, my LAPD. And really vicious, vile other things he would do and say, racist things he would say. And the mayor was there, absolutely. I would stand outside the mayor's office in the scheduling office, and there'd be me, the mayor, a scheduler, and Rick Jacobs in protective detail, and he would do it inches from him. And we know this also, that he was comfortable doing it in front of him because we have that photo. I don't know if you have that photo with you, but there was a photo of the mayor and Rick Jacobs, and Rick Jacobs literally puts his hand over a man's genitalia.
Right.
Inches from the mayor. And the mayor said, well, I never saw that. But the point is not whether he saw it or not. The point, of course, is that Rick Jacobs felt comfortable enough to put his hand on another man's crotch inches from him in a photograph. And he knew that there were no consequences. And that's why he did it.
Yeah, that photo was, it was so brazen. And with Garcetti in the photo, if he didn't notice it happening as the photo was being taken, how do you not see it after the photo was taken? You're in the photo. I'm pretty sure it was brought to his attention at some point. And so you mentioned trying to report what had happened to you and how you were told nothing can be done. Yeah. Why is that? Well, did it just stop there? Nothing can be done about this, or was there any reason for why nothing was done about it? What is the real relationship between Eric Garcetti and Rick Jacobs? Why does it seem as though there was some sort of effort to help him out, provide cover for what he was doing? What motivated that?
Listen, there's a lot of reasons. Some of them include that Rick Jacobs raised a lot of money for Eric Garcetti for his first campaign. He had an independent expenditure for him. He introduced him to a lot of powerful and wealthy people. And I know that the mayor felt as though Rick had sort of brought him to the ball. We also know that Rick Jacobs was extraordinarily close with the mayor's wife, Amy Elaine Wakeland. And we know that that relationship was very important to Amy, and we knew that the mayor would do nothing to hurt that relationship. There's a series of other reasons, but I would tell you right now, it was just an extraordinarily close, almost codependent relationship, and it was verboten to criticize Rick in any way, shape, or form. It was not welcome. He was not open to it. And I will tell you, I spoke to my chief of staff beyond that one complaint I made. We talk about it on a pretty regular basis. And she'd say, there's nothing I can do. In fact,
Garcetti said that, or your chief of staff?
The chief of staff would say it. And I would say, well, have you talked to the mayor about it? It's very concerning. Part of being a communications director is that you assess risk, right? And what can get out there. And I said, I think this is very risky for him and for his career. And she says, there's nothing I can do about it. And I said, but have you talked to the mayor? And she said, he won't do anything. Susie Emmerling, who was my successor as director of communications, has testified to the exact same conversation. And I know others spoke to Anna about it. I tried to talk to the mayor even about a work product issue with Rick. And the mayor was so short and cutting and angry that I never brought up anything about Rick again. Instead, I decided to resign because that felt like that was my only choice. It was really a constructive discharge.
Were there instances of people coming forward and based on what you're saying, nothing was ever done about it, but was there ever retaliation for anyone who came forward?
Listen, there was retaliation in that office day in and day out. They'd call it running actions on people. Again, Matthew Garza overheard a lot of those conversations. I sat around the conference table as members of Garcetti's team planned those actions. So anyone that came forward knew that they were going to be retaliated against. They knew they would be ostracized, and they knew they would be no longer part of this club, of this, as they called it, Team Garcetti. There was a real culture of omerta there. It was basically, you were either with us and you were loyal, or you faced the consequences. So people did not come out and talk about Rick. Because when we had conversations about it, they were so quickly terminated, and we were looked at like, why are you even bringing this up to me? What are you thinking to bring this up to me? And that was pretty much how it went when we tried to talk to anyone in the top echelons about Rick Jacobs.
So what happens next? You've blown the whistle, you've come forward. What are you hoping to do with your efforts?
So we want accountability, right? We want to make sure that Eric Garcetti can no longer enable, cover up, and then lie about sexual harassment and abuse. We know that he has committed felony perjury, not once, but twice. We know that they had an independent investigation that they spent $100,000 on from the city that was incomplete, woefully incomplete, did not include any of the testimony or interview any of us who told the truth. And then they presented that to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee as evidence that the mayor didn't know anything. We know now, there's a new story in the LA Times, and I'm sure there's more coming out, about how that was really this fig leaf. So not only did he commit felony perjury in the Senate, he also deceived them a second time by giving them this report, which he called confidential. He wouldn't release this report to the public. So now we're meeting with senators, and we've met, by the end of this week, we'll have met about 15, both sides of the aisle. We know that Senator Grassley has placed a hold. We're really hoping that some Democratic senators come out and place a hold as well, or ask President Biden to rescind this nomination. Just 2 weeks ago, President Biden signed legislation ending forced arbitration. I am sure that you covered it here, Gretchen Carlson's legislation. And Senator Gillibrand was there, and other senators were there. But they have all stayed silent about this. Mm-hmm. And I find it really sad. And I find it, I'm a lifelong progressive, and I find it sad and that they're not respecting the victims' lives here. So I really want to hear from those senators as well.
Naomi, thank you for, it takes a lot of courage to come out against powerful people, especially when they're preying on people who work under them. I know what politics looks like if you are willing to speak out, especially if you're willing to speak out against your own side. So I thank you for sharing your story with us and being so candid about what you experienced. I hope that there's a thorough investigation. I hope there's justice for the victims here, and I appreciate you taking the time for sharing this story with us.
Thank you, and I can just ask, I know you have a very active audience, and if you feel strongly that we cannot have someone representing us in India that enabled sexual harassment and abuse, I implore you to get in touch with your senator and ask them to vote no. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.